Man, oh man, do I wish these were true. Because if these were true, it would make everything in fitness a lot easier. But what I'm hoping that you're going to learn from this video is these mistakes that most people fall into, these common traps. I want you to avoid them and focus instead on the stuff that works. So the first bullshit muscle building advice that I actually wish was true was one, eating clean yields more muscle. When I first got started lifting, and I would pick up Flex magazine. I know that magazines are actually things that like internet articles on physical paper, which is kind of crazy. So I'd pick up like a Flex magazine or a Muscle and Fitness magazine, and they would have the diet of the pros. And I used to think, well, if I follow the diet of the pros, I'm going to get that type of physique. And all the pros at the time would focus on clean eating. Okay, you got to eat chicken and broccoli, and you got to have rice, and you got to have egg whites, 10 egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast. So I said, well, if this is what the pros do, I got to do it too. So I would eat clean. I would force myself and pride myself on, I ate clean. What happened was because I was younger, my metabolism was very fast, I was looking to put on muscle, I didn't gain anything. In fact, I probably spun my wheels for about a year and a half eating clean. And the reason why I did that was because I didn't track calories. I just focused on eating clean. And I thought, hey, if I eat this chicken, broccoli, and rice, it's a clean meal. I'm going to put on more muscle. That didn't happen. And that didn't happen because I wasn't focusing on the basics of nutrition, which is focusing on protein intake, focusing on total calories. And then if I was trying to gain muscle, be in a surplus. If I was trying to diet, be in a calorie deficit. Without that, none of it matters. Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue that you should obviously have cleaner foods, right? One ingredient foods. Obviously, there's a little bit better for you health-wise to have more of those things than processed foods. But you can't fall into this victim mentality of thinking, hey, if I just eat egg whites and oatmeal, I'm going to automatically lose body fat. Or if I eat whole eggs and oatmeal, I'm going to gain muscle. Doesn't work like that. I wish it did because it would make nutrition 10 times easier, but it doesn't. And in fact, when you actually focus on tracking calories and counting protein, carbs, and fats, it's really not, that's pretty easy actually. And you can fit things in that you might want and things that you might necessarily be clean, but you want to factor into your nutrition. So this way you can make progress for the long haul. So that's the first one. The second one, pump training. Bodybuilders swear by training for the pump. You'll see so many pros that focus on I just focus on the muscle. I focus on that. And listen, I'm not saying that pump training doesn't have its place. It does. Tension is the most important aspect when it comes to putting on muscle. Tension on the targeted muscle. And typically when you do that, you get a good pump. But when you're focusing just on the pump, that's not good. Because as you start to train, weeks go by, you start getting less recovered. You start fatiguing. And when you start fatiguing, the fatigue kind of catches up with the amount of stimulus that you're doing. And once that fatigue is over the amount of stimulus, you start to feel more run down, you start to feel more tired. And this is when you would typically throw in a deload week or a week where you let that fatigue dissipate so you can realize the gains that you've made. But the problem is that during those weeks when you're pushing it, you're not really going to get a good pump because the fatigue is kind of high. So when you're focusing on just a pump, you're like, oh, well, this is not working. I'm not getting a good pump. Something's wrong. No, it's not necessarily that. You need to focus on, in addition to keeping tension on the muscle, like I said, it is very important. But in addition to that, you need to also focus on progress and progressing with your weights, with your reps, the movements that you're doing, your form, your mind-muscle connection. It's important to focus on that aspect of it as well, in addition to just the pump. Listen, I wish it was just as easy as, hey, go into the gym and pump the shit out of the muscle and it's going to grow. It would make everything a lot easier. But that's not necessarily the case. And the third bullshit advice that I wish was true is you can build muscle and burn fat at the same time. I really wish this one was true. For someone who's definitely skinny fat, this would be really easy to solve that problem. But the problem is it doesn't work like that. Your metabolism is either gaining or losing. You can't do both. So you're either building muscle in a surplus or you're losing body fat and you're in a deficit. It's one or the other. Your metabolism is kind of like a light switch in that sense where it's like it's either I'm gaining, switch down, I'm not gaining, I'm losing. So it's one of those two directions. Unfortunately, you can't do both. People will try to trick you online and say that you can. And if you do this, you could burn muscle and burn body fat and build muscle at the same time. No, doesn't work like that. So stop trying to do that and do one or the other. And trust me, when you focus on one versus the other, you're going to get way more out of your training, way more out of your diet, and just ultimately way more progress. Okay. Now, what other bodybuilding advice that's not true do you wish was actually true? Comment below. I'm curious what some of these are. And just because you made it this far into the video, I got a free gift for you. I have a free 6-week training program that I want to give you. No strings attached. I just want to help you avoid all the mistakes that I made along my 20-year journey and help you pack on pounds of muscle. This was Anthony, AB Fitness. I'll catch you guys on the next one.